Okay, guys. So as I was chatting with some fans, they told me about this MrBeast situation where apparently one of the members of Mr. Beast's Beastitary, I don't even know what he called, crew, came out as trans. God bless. Thank you so much for the 4-month sub, Intense Reality. And I guess people are upset about it. And I'm curious why they're upset about it. Somebody said it's because they have a kid, but that shouldn't really be a factor as long as they're being a good parent. Who cares if they're trans? But let's see what we got here.
Came out as trans, and Chris Tyson
this is from Jalen, guys, by the way.
As trans, and people aren't happy. Now, at this point, man, I'm sure you guys have probably heard of the Carl effect, where people have tried to blame Carl on MrBeast's like content being bad or something, and so they
really, is that a thing? Maybe I should watch some of those then. Why do people blame Carl?
They've cooked up this like wild, crazy conspiracy theory that like Carl.
Let me just read it.
Content being bad or something, and so
the Carl effect refers to theory related or reiterated by some MrBeast fans that MrBeast team member Carl Jacobs has a negative effect on other members of the team. The effect is mostly related to Jacobs' effeminate and LGBTQ-oriented way of presenting himself, rubbing off onto other members. Oh my God, this isn't the Carl effect. This is a very known thing of like, hey guys, there's an LGBTQ conspiracy that's out to feminize people. It sounds like some people become a little more empathetic to gay people because of Carl, or LGBTQ people. Who cares? The Carl effect was talked about in the relation to MrBeast team member Chris Tyson, who started to dress differently and paint his fingernails in January 2023. Some likened the change to Carl Jacobs' effect on him and incorrectly stated that Chris left his wife and kid to be bisexual. What? Discourse, apparently that didn't happen because it said incorrectly stated it. Discourse about the Carl effect was also viewed as problematic by many MrBeast fans because it's labeled fluid sexuality and gender presentation as negative, and was also predominantly based on false information. Most content about the Carl effect surfaced on TikTok in early 2023, as many related to the misinformation or debunked it. In February 2023, Dream humorously criticized the Carl effect in a TikTok video. Yeah, it's interesting. MrBeast just can't catch a break. It doesn't matter if it's progressives crying about how he does charity, or conservative leaning people crying about how gay people exist in his content. MrBeast gets he really gets his back blown out by everybody, and he's getting one in the ass while he's getting one in the mouth at the same time. It's nuts.
Oh, they've
literally nuts.
Cooked up this like wild, crazy conspiracy theory that like Carl's going around. He's just turning people gay. All right, he's turning the freaking frogs gay, and now clearly he's done the same to Chris. Now Chris Tyson is just as much of MrBeast as Jimmy is. I mean, they have both been there like day one making content together. They are best friends. And when Chris was younger, he used to make transphobic jokes in MrBeast videos. And so I guess
I feel like that was just kind of the sphere. I mean, Jalen also. I know Jalen's not criticizing them. Jalen also makes every type of phobic joke ever. So, yeah, man, that was kind of the thing. Hey, I even still make them. They're funny. But, yeah, that's kind of the hive. That's kind of how things are. And then maybe they realized that they were trans. And, that's. And listen, let's be honest. Half people who are, like, homophobic and transphobic are gay themselves anyway. You know what I mean? Like, excuse me. I'm just saying, it's the most feminine people. It's the most feminine people that criticize gay people the most, I feel like, on the internet, or at least with the most energy. It's crazy.
For the years, he's kind of racked up this reputation of being sort of an edgy guy. At least that's what I'm gathering from these TikToks. I never really personally got that impression. And so when Chris started, expressing himself a bit more,
isn't it a girl now?
Dressing, a bit more feminine.
Themselves?
He started getting a ton of hate. Like hundreds of thousands of people harassing him. He had to leave the internet because that's how bad the harassment got. Dang. Now, after Chris left the internet, he was kind of silent for a while, and Carl and Dream, they would like meme on the whole Carl effect thing because it was just like ridiculous. It was this growing movement on TikTok, and they just kind of made a joke out of it. However, Chris would return to social media and he would reveal.
You gotta be a little bit careful about jokes like that, because I like jokes, but one thing I've learned is that some people can take the jokes very negatively. Right, like I used to make like edgy jokes when I was on. I still make edgy jokes now, but when I would do it on TikTok, it's just the joke, right? So you're just seeing the 10-second clip of me being edgy. And people will interpret it however they want to, and it's something I didn't learn for a while, but there's a lot of people who will actually interpret it as me being bigoted, and then they'll feel comfortable saying bigoted things in association to me. I don't know the context of them joking about the Carl effect, but if it's not with the expressed understanding that it's just like a joke and like just for fun because it's like silly, it's like a meme, then there are definitely people who are going to look at that and be like, oh my god, Dream or whoever is so fucking based for being transphobic, and they're going to interpret it like that. Now you don't have to care about that, but if I was the people making those jokes and I wasn't homophobic or transphobic, I would want to make sure people knew that it was just a silly joke that maybe plays on a stereotype rather than actually believing that they are transphobic. So
some more personal details about himself. The Carl effect, while it lasted, was funny to me because even though Carl's a great friend, y'all think he's my type? I'm into way taller than me, ripped and quiet. Every time I had to see someone talk about me and Carl dating, I was like, oh, they just don't have any clue, LMAO. And he would then address the claims of he and his wife being divorced. For a little over a year now, me and Katie have been separated. We are finalizing things soon, but these things take time. We like to keep our personal lives private, which a lot of people don't understand because we share so much, but this is the only time I want to discuss it. And then in a post earlier today, he would pretty much come out as gender non-conforming. Informed consent HRT saved my life and many others' lives. Okay. The hurdles GNC people have to jump through to get life-saving gender-affirming healthcare in a first-world country is wild to me. Just let people make informed decisions about their own bodies. So, I mean, this right here is basically...
What are they bouncing off of? Some Virginia... Let's see. Melina de Argio? Viagra is gender-affirming care. Is it? Well, it's not. I mean, it is for men, but it's not really gender-affirming care. Hair transplants are gender-affirming care. Breast implants are gender-affirming care. Treating low testosterone and treatment is gender-affirming care. Republicans are trying to erase the trans community, not banning gender-affirming care. Okay, I mean, I feel like that's a little bit of what the person Chris said makes sense to me, but that I get what they're saying, right? Like it helps you when you get testosterone if you have low test or hair transplants or whatever, or getting Viagra. But I also... it's just a little bit of a silly point. Well, I don't know, because they would just respond with, yeah, but those are real men, which obviously is transphobic, but they would be able to counter that. It's like more of like a Twitter hot take, and I feel like these are unproductive in any conversation.
To me. Just let people make informed decisions about their own bodies. So, I mean, this right here is basically Chris coming out. Now, at the moment, I don't really know what Chris identifies as. I've seen other people saying that he doesn't really care, but I mean, this just confirms that over the last few months, that while Chris was expressing himself a bit more, being himself, living the way he wanted to, finally, after years of holding on to this, after dealing with this, instead of people showing support, instead of the fan base that he and MrBeast had grown together, instead of them being kind and accepting, instead they decided to harass the guy, to call him names, to insult him, which might I add can be extremely damaging to someone's mental health, especially when they are in the early stages of transitioning. I also just want to say big ups to MrBeast. It's very clear the guy is supportive of his best friend, and I know that's kind of like the bare minimum, but there's a lot of people who wouldn't do that.
Let's see.
Guy is
Gotcha, hearts. I did one more heart than Carl because I'm a better friend. Okay.
Supportive of his best friend. And I know that's kind of like the bare minimum, but there's a lot of people who wouldn't do that. And it's just kind of cool to see MrBeast and Chris.
Yeah, I can't imagine that MrBeast is going to take a hard pro-trans stance. It's good that he's supporting their friend, but, businessman first, I'd imagine. He probably should take that stance, but hey, listen, God bless. At least they took that, I guess. Bare minimum is sometimes better than than nothing. Well, it is better than nothing, but
stick together and continue to make content together, continue to be friends. Anyway.
Oh, well, then yeah, there you go. So that's a little more than the bare minimum. They're friends. He supports the person. They're just not getting into the trans conversation. Okay, that's a little more than the bare minimum.
Yet another tweet would go viral and insulting Chris. Chris from MrBeast's crew received backlash again for his feminine appearance. This is the second time this year he's received hate. Both times, fans have blamed Karl Jacobs for the feminization. Bro.
Well, so why even signal boost that? Just why? Why is this even? Why is that kind of stuff even news? They're just living their authentic self. It's just silly. It's what we're gonna call it gender baiting. You know how people race bait? They bring up a conversation unnecessary. That's what that is. That's all it is. Why do we need to sit here and have the speculation of oh, this person did this. Oh, people are criticizing. Who cares? The person is living their authentic self. Whatever, you know what I mean? The only reason to bring something like that up is so that you can kind of stoke the flames, so that you can farm more drama out of the situation. Just let the person fucking live. Who gives a shit?
Oh, WTF happened, and Chris would respond to this backlash and this hate by saying HRT, and it's only been 2 months. F, the goofy mother effers, keep running your own stuff. Carl, thanks for being an inspiration to me and so many other people to be happy and comfortable being yourself. And I mean, just the replies to all these tweets are really not worth going over because it's just some horrible, vile, hateful shit. Again, people are saying that Chris's kid is going to harm themselves, that they feel bad for Chris's.
There goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. Weak men times. One of the problems I have with this is that it's usually the weakest men who will complain about how weak men are. Realistically speaking, you know, I think that there's a strength in expressing to the world that you are a trans person. And you might be like, no, the world loves trans people. No, they don't. On the internet, maybe. But even so, no. Look at this. This individual came out as trans. They're getting blasted all over the internet. And it's a hard thing to do to live that authentic self. Realistically speaking, this person was trans whether they came out or not. Like, I want you to understand these feelings. They don't just magically go away because you say, no, no, no. Okay? I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's the same reason why people, you know, sexualize the Zootopia bunny rabbit, because you have these feelings and they just won't go away. Okay. Aren't you tired of being shamed for wanting to fuck the Zootopia rabbit? Personally, I never wanted to fuck the Zootopia rabbit. I wanted to fuck the hippo from the fucking one show, Madagascar. And there's a strength in coming out respectfully. It doesn't make you a bad parent. There goes a father figure, maybe, but fortunately you can get masculine figures from other places. And the biggest issue with our rampant single father or single motherhood isn't just that their father isn't there. It's that one of the person's parents doesn't want to love them. It's a significant struggle. I've gotten plenty of masculine and male figures in my life, but I still didn't have a father. And that hurts because my parent didn't want me. This kid, maybe they do need more of a masculine presence. They could have uncles. There's teachers, gym teachers, I'd say almost like coaches for basketball or what, any sport. There's other places they could subsidize that. But it's better than having a miserable parent that wants to kill themselves because they can't live their authentic self. This concept that life has to be perfectly ideal is ridiculous to me. It should just be the best it can be. And we're talking about a person who wants to be there for their kid. And frankly, just because they're trans doesn't even mean that their kid is going to be losing anything. It's silly, and I find it so frustrating that the majority of the conversation about like these topics, it bothers me because we'll talk so much about like, oh, we're missing so many real men. We don't have enough real men anymore. Look at these trans people. As trans men aren't real men, aren't they? I think that, especially coming from that more conservative manosphere area that advocates for cheating and all this other bullshit, fucking girls that are as young as possible, inexperienced as possible, submissive as possible. Basically like a fucking child, where, you know, you have people that are joking about like girls getting sexually assaulted and saying like, oh, you should have just picked better men. Those aren't real men. So maybe you should fathers not being in their kids' lives are not real men. So maybe focus on criticizing those people over some fucking trans person that still loves their kid. You know, it's preposterous. You want to talk about weak men? This is a weak man crying about this shit. This is your number one threat as a parent that loves their child and wants to stay in their child's life. That's your number one issue? Pathetic. You're a fucking loser. Get your shit together. Start criticizing like actual problems. I don't care about some fucking trans person that like wants to live their authentic self. I care about the fucking rampant single like motherhood issue. There's no father. Like the father's not even in the homes. That's not even the problem. It's a problem. They're not even in the kids' lives. They'll be like, I only got custody once a week, and then they won't show up. Oh yeah, men, they get screwed over in the court system. They don't ever win custody. They don't win equal custody because the women tend to want to be in the kids' lives more. But then they'll get 1 day a week, 1 day every other week, 1 day a month, and they don't show up. They don't show up, and you're like, well, it's not. So what's your logic? That because they didn't get equal custody, they decided to just not be in their kid's life? What are you, a fucking moron? No, they didn't want to be in the kid's life in the first place. There's a lot of good single fathers, or a lot of good fathers that want to be in their kid's life, but most of these dads, these men, these boys, they don't want to be in their kid's life. They get once a week, once every other week, and they don't show up. This is our biggest fucking concern, is some fucking trans person that wants to be in their kid's life. It's nuts. It's fucking crazy. It bothers the hell out of me. It's such a weak perspective on like fucking parents, man. Get your shit together. This is issue number one. Conservatives cry about trans people and gay people more than they cry about fucking like our fucking toxic culture of single motherhood. You know? The bar's on the fucking floor, bro. So shut the fuck up. Pussy. Whoever the fuck this Evan guy is a little pussy boy that has no fucking intelligence whatsoever. And now everybody's verified, so now every dipshit looks like they matter. What is it? Live with Evan. Let's see what this idiot's got going on here. Let's see. It's just this guy. This is the real man, guys. This is the real man. Wow. Look at this. Incredible. MrBeast fans be wild. Well, they shouldn't be telling people to do that. But, bro, it's just fucking crazy. These weak men. Wow. Incredible stuff. That's a real man, guys. Holy shit. It's just fucking sad, bro. It looks like they're getting a lot of negative attention, though. Thank God. It's remarkable how obsessed the West has become with transgenderism in the past decade. Oh my God, this Zuby guy is an idiot. Hold on. Especially considering the concept does not even make sense. It's also logical, goofy, and occupies 1 million times more energy and mental spaces than it deserves. Not for nothing. I'm obviously trans affirming. This is a Republican problem. This is a Republican. Republicans are fucking obsessed with trans people. You don't have to believe. Bro, here's the thing. You want to be trans affirming or not, whatever. I am. You're wrong if you're not trans affirming. I don't care. But here's the reality. The party that's obsessed with fucking trans people is fucking Republicans. Republicans' entire platform is pro-Russia, anti-trans, and anti-gay. There's no other policy. They're not focusing on poverty. They're not focusing on gun violence. They're not focusing on fucking healthcare. They're not focusing on literally anything except Russia good and fucking trans bad. So you want to talk about this? Oh, getting so much energy. It's your own fucking party's obsessed. It's the only #1 fucking talking point. It's crazy. It's the most crazy thing in the entire world. It's fucking nuts, dude. It's like, holy fuck, you guys are the ones that are obsessed. And the reality is like, factually speaking, like, we are talking about like a mental health issue, right? For sure. Just like anybody else has like different issues, right? Like, it's just some kind of an issue where they were born in the wrong body in some capacity and they just need help functioning in society. That's all it comes down to. You don't have to be affirming. You don't have to understand the difference between sex and gender. I don't care. But dude, the party that's obsessed, it's Republicans. They don't stop. The only thing that every single Republican content creator talks about is Dylan Mulvaney and then some random thing and then Dylan Mulvaney every third day. That's it. Oh my God. It's just crazy.
This kid, for some reason, it doesn't really make sense to me. It's just kind of sad, you know. It really is, and I'm glad that Chris has a supportive community, that he has friends that back him. To all these MrBeast fans that are hating on Chris, that are hating on Carl, these are MrBeast friends, like they're homies behind the scenes, and you're just going out of your way attacking and hating them for what? You know, I thought that we were, you know, moving towards a time where someone could be their authentic selves and not face this ridicule, this hatred, but I guess not. I guess we're progressing backwards again, and it's sad to see. To those of you that for some reason hate trans people or hate queer people, I recommend you actually talk to a queer person. Regardless of whatever Chris's gender is, whatever his name is, whoever he decides to be, he's still Chris at the end of the day. He's still the person that we all grew up watching. He's still MrBeast's best friend. He's still MrBeast's first subscriber. He's just living true to himself now, being happier, being his true self. And there's nothing wrong with that. That, in fact, should be celebrated, not hated. And to the people who are hating on Chris, to a certain extent, I do feel bad for you because that comes from a place of pain. And I know that because I was like that once. Chris was like...
I don't know if it comes from a place of pain. It just comes from a place of being a fucking dickhead and non-empathetic fucking moron. For some people.
Like that once. I think that's part of the reason that I like connect with him so much. I mean, like a couple years ago, he was like canceled because all the old jokes and shit he made were brought up. And even back then, he like mentioned his struggle with gender and how these jokes he'd made was kind of a way to cope with it. We live in a tough world where you're punished for being your true authentic self. But that's not right. That's not how it should be.
I'm a real man.
Instead of punishing people for living their truth, you should embrace whoever.
But I'm not trying to be transphobic, guys, okay? Just make a little joke. That's all I'm saying. I know people interpret it incorrectly. I don't need those fucking losers interpreting my jokes the wrong way. So God damn it, these are fucking pain in the ass to beat.
You truly are. And just let other people live their lives. Because I promise you, if you live a life of hatred, it's not a good life. It's not going to make you happy. Anyway, these are just my thoughts on this entire situation. If you guys have enjoyed, hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel.
All right, what the heck? Incredible. Okay, well, that was an interesting video.